I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Ryan Rhoten. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to connect with you. I'm going so fast that I listen to the podcast of individuals that are on, and then I can only recall the conversation I listen to from them when I go to LinkedIn, right? So you're on, I go to LinkedIn, and I remember the amazing podcast you have. Wow. The StoryBrand, you're the StoryBrand guide, yeah?
Yeah. That is me.
Yeah, you are amazing. Like, the podcast was amazing. It felt as though we were it was like a brother from another mother. Please tell me, Ryan, what part of the world are you in right now?
I am in Denver, Colorado.
And which of your talents is responsible that you've been operating in for us connecting at this point in time?
I believe it could be my book, but I believe it's for my podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely the podcast. Well, tell us about both the book and the podcast.
Sure, no problem. So the book is the podcast is called The Brand New You Show, and it's really a personal branding and digital marketing podcast. And my goal with it is to help people be able to build their personal brands online so that they can grow their influence, amplify their online reputation, and ultimately impact their careers. So to help with that, each week I try to interview career coaches, recruiters, talent management professionals, as well as leading experts in social media and personal branding in order to discover what those actionable insights are and the advice that people need today in order to stand out online so they can boost the credibility that they have in their career. Yeah. And then from that, I was able to springboard through all my. Now I haven't interviewed nearly as many people as you have. Yeah. But I have interviewed about 90 people, and through the podcast and those interviews, I was able to put together and kind of coalesce all of the information and advice and tips and actions for people to take and put it together in a book that I call CareerKred. And it's really a book that defines the 4 simple steps that you need to build a digital brand and boost the credibility in your career.
Wow, well, that's amazing. Now, you said the name of the podcast is The Brand New You, but the thing I got was Build Your Own Brand.
Yeah, that's another podcast I have too.
Oh, okay.
So the active one, the one I do weekly, is The Brand New You Show. And then I released a 25 episode podcast called Build Your Own Brand, where I basically used that podcast to kind of, if you will, put my thoughts out in the world about the book before the book became a book. So it was kind of me using the podcast to think through what the basis of the book would become.
Yeah, it felt like that. It felt like an audio blog, if you would, to some level.
Yeah, that's exactly what that one is. And then the Brand New You Show is actually an interview-based podcast.
Yeah, I love how you combine that word right there, interview-based. Yeah, it actually sounded like a word, yeah, interview-based. Yeah, it's been intriguing, again, listening to the content that you've given, the tools you've given, the how-to, really in-depth, really enjoyed that tremendously. I say one more time. Who did you learn that skill from to be able to be able to represent your own brand through yourself?
So I guess I'm self-taught, and I learned it from multiple people. The whole genesis of really the podcast and where I'm at today is I had my own career crisis about 6 years ago now, and as a part of that, I started to ask myself a lot of questions that people in their mid-career start to ask, which is what am I supposed to do with my life? Is this what I'm supposed to do? And is there something else out there for me? And I just decided that I'm not one to kind of dwell on it and feel sorry for myself. I need to find answers. So I just started doing a lot of research, listening to a lot of podcasts, honestly. And there was one in particular where, and I forget the person's name now, but she was an expert in personal branding. And she got on this interview and started talking about personal branding. And it was just one of those moments where, what hair I have left on my head at that time, it stood up. And it just spoke to me. And I knew that I didn't know what personal branding was then, but I knew that that was my problem. And so I just kind of poured myself into it. And then as a part of just learning and educating myself, I decided, you know what, there's people a whole lot smarter than me out there. I need to go talk to them. And honestly, I used my podcast as a vehicle to not only help them get their message out to the world, but also for me to learn more about, personal branding and just digital branding, how all of that can really play into your career today.
Definitely a path less traveled. We are seeing a lot more people understand the uniqueness of their own brand. I'd like to know, given the fact that you've done the work, right, and you've definitely done the work, why will you continue to repeat the skill that you understand is going to be a bit challenging to go for?
Yeah, because there's such a need for it in the world today. I mean, as we look, as I look 3, 5, 10 years out, and you look at people and their careers, the need to be able to have a online presence that speaks to your credibility and demonstrates in public your skill sets is going to be way more beneficial to you in the long run as a career professional than handing somebody a resume. Because people who can demonstrate their skills online, if you will, it gives hiring managers and recruiters and potential customers, if you're a business owner, an opportunity to get to know you and know who you are and know whether or not they want to do business with you. And I just feel that it's super important that people need to pay attention to what they're doing online, because it can, will, and does impact their careers.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now tell us where we can go to connect with you, where we can get more information about all you do.
Well, so I'm Ryan Rhoten everywhere. So it's RyanRhot, like Tango, EN. You can find me at ryanrhoten.com. I'm on LinkedIn at Ryan Rhoten. I'm on Twitter at Ryan Rhoten. Instagram, you get the idea.
Wonderful. Well, tell us one other thing that you've done, Ryan, consistently over the last 3 years, please.
I guess the one thing that I would say I've done consistently is just show up, is put in the time, put in the effort, and do the work, even when nobody's watching. Because I think staying and remaining consistent is a discipline that you need to have, especially if you're going to try to build a brand that can impact your career.
Yeah, again, totally. How does it make you feel? I was about to put in there, totally agree. But I think the podcast would have been that me saying that consistently. Right? Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree. But how does it make you feel, Ryan?
Tired sometimes. Yeah, but for me, the biggest rewards come when I get that random email or you see a podcast review on iTunes that say, you really helped me. Pay attention because what he's talking about is important.
Yeah. Why would you suggest to someone out there that's listening, if we come full circle or boomerang to that idea of creating your brand and sticking through with it, why would you suggest someone do that?
I think you need to these days, simply because everybody we live in a digital first world. So when people look for you online, they're going to search for you in Google. And what shows up when they find those first 10 search results is going to be what forms the basis of their perception about you. And until they meet you in person, that perception is their reality. And I just feel that, like I said before, we all need to be working on making sure that we're crafting our brands in a way that's authentic to ourselves, but also demonstrates our expertise in public. So when people do find us in a search result, and they will find us in a search result someday, they find what we want them to find, not what Google says they should find.
Amazing audience, you're hearing it here. We are live with Ryan Rhoten. Hey, you can definitely check him out. He is the podcast host of the Brand New You. Ryan, let's switch gears for a moment now. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Ryan,
I like
what
it.
is your... Oh, that's great. What is your earliest childhood memory?
Earliest. I would say probably, let's say 5 or 6 years old. And I distinctly remember my dad taking me to the soda shop back when soda shops existed. And it was just him and I, and it was like the time when he and I could just like be together. And we would just, sometimes we would talk about things, and other times we would just sit there and we would just drink a soda together. And he passed away about 6 years ago, and so I still think about that. I still think about those times fondly when I think of my father.
Intriguing. Yeah, well, I am sorry for your loss, most definitely. I'd like to know why you think this memory is so clear.
I don't, because I know my dad was busy. He worked all the time. And even when he was home, he was always working. And so just to know that he would take moments, time out of his day just to go and sit with me and talk about me and see how I was doing, and kind of, if you will, I guess, stay in touch with where I was in my life. It really meant a lot, and so I try to do the same now with my children.
That's intriguing. Hey, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Sure, absolutely.
I love the idea of the branding that's going on there. Even now, right? Like you could see the ad, right? Like a father and his son, and they walk to the soda fridge, if you would, and refrigerator, and they go in and they get that, and then they sit down and they drink it, right? And I mean, it could look cliche, right? But I love the idea of the imagery that you've painted in the brand and the trueness of the brand and the effect that it has had over time. So, I mean, yes, there is the imagery that could look cliche, but truly there's a value, a deeper value that went past the visuals to the emotional side that has now carried through to your children, the legacy. And I think it connects to what you're creating by helping people understand the value of their brand building, their uniqueness.
I agree. And maybe every week when I release a podcast, that's my version of a soda for them.
There we go. Yeah. Fresh pop every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Hey, Ryan, if we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Well, you are really jogging the memory cells today. Let's see, 12. So I grew up in Indiana, and there was a local famous singer at the time whose name was John Cougar.
Right.
Other people may know him as John Mellencamp. And if I remember right, the song that was played in my room with the door shut more times than not was one called Jack and Diane by John Cougar Mellencamp.
There we go. Right. I'll definitely have to check out that song. It's the first time I'm hearing of it. Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, I'm looking at the video, like I've played this before because the red line thing on YouTube pops up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know this song. Bam. Yeah. It's intriguing though, the video with the child and anyway. So all right, so intriguing. So all right, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Ryan?
Absolutely.
Ryan, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Yes.
How many?
2 boys.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I do not.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's more than 8 because my job requires me to be in front of a computer.
Okay. Ryan, after 1,001 conversations in 3 months in 2016, I came up with a workbook, the name of it being called Yours, Your Own Unique Real Self. And the idea is as you answer questions that are reflective, you connect to your mission that I call Your Own Unique Real Statement. I am intrigued to know, what is your own unique real statement?
Well, I like to think of myself as a pragmatic yet strategic person, but I'm also action oriented but thoughtful.
Love it.
And meaning I'm biased toward action, but I don't just take action for the sake of action. I take action after I've thought it through.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I don't just shoot, I aim first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, love it. Hey, Ryan, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yeah, I guess I would like to say, just keep in mind that your career is yours and you own it, and don't expect others to kind of lead you through your career and your life. Take charge of your career, take charge of your brand, demonstrate your skills and your expertise in public, and good things will come from it.
Ryan Rhoten, hey, a great pleasure one more time. I'll tell you, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you, sir. It has been absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.